Okay. Just wanted to make sure that this actually was working. And I'll be popping into this in just a second. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay. Alright, so we're going to be starting with, just want to make sure I get the right lab thrown over on this side. Um, doo-doo. Should be, oop. So that's switch. So you guys can stay over here, and we need to start with iOS. There we go. So this one, we're going to start with iOS for Packet Tracer. And I am going to end up doing these similar to how I did them yesterday, which is going to be a couple little tips and tricks. Alright. And just want to make sure I'm audible. I believe I should be here, so that should be good. Alright, and we're just going to go ahead and run through this lab. I'm going to pull up our handy dandy notepad. It's like, no, we're not using the pen right now. Oh, well, I could. I found out that my phone is awesome and I can be used as a tablet. So I was screwing around with that this morning, which was pretty cool. So I technically now have a mini Wacom made out of my cell phone. Because all the fun stuff. Okay, anyway, so this lab is going to consist of Packet Tracer base. This is basic intro to iOS. As I said yesterday, I was going to go ahead and do a couple of the intro labs for people that are interested in getting into Cisco, or maybe have started kind of playing with stuff but weren't 100% sure of what all the terminology was, or you're looking to get back into it and you want to see if anything has changed depending on how many years ago that you had taken it. This is back from the first class that we did, which for us was NETI 105, so it was a base class, the very first one that you do, the 4-part for the CCNA. This is from chapter 2, and this is basically where they start getting into the more fun stuff, which is the configuration and how to set things up. So I'm just going to go ahead and run through this, and I picked 2 labs today because I have a feeling that this is going to go reasonably quick. This first one's only like, page long. It's pretty short, and it's basically just a walkthrough. So what we have been given in this lab are a switch, S1, and a PC. Shoot. And what they want us to do is basic connections. They want to make sure that we can access the command line interface, the CLI, and they're going to walk you through how to explore help. So it's going to be basically the question mark function. I'll do like I did yesterday and have the notepads up so I can copy the commands down so they're a little more visible. I do apologize if it's slightly blurry. This is about the degree that I can get my resolution at the moment. So my main goal right now is just not having too much skip. If you would like to see these, I can start recording them and having them put up on YouTube in higher quality, which may be a better option. It'll just take a very long time to upload because I'm not dealing with a lot of bandwidth, which is again sad. What I'll need to do is try to find a location I can stream from that's got better internet than my house, which is really bad. So, moving on to actual lab stuff. So like I said, part one, basic connections. Part two, exploring the executive modes. And part three, setting the clock. A lot of this you won't do in a lot of later labs, but it's important to know. And once you get this template down, fun fact, you can, at least on the routers, you can just drop everything in there. Oh, my doggies. Okay, so background. In this activity, you will practice skills necessary for navigating the Cisco IOS, including different user access modes, various configuration modes, and common commands you use on a regular basis. You also practice accessing the context-sensitive help by configuring the clock command. Part 1, Basic Connections, Assessing the CLI and Exploring the Help. In part one of this activity, you connect a PC to a switch using a console connection and explore various command modes and help features. So, step one, connect PC1 to SU1 using a console cable. Console cables are going to be, I'm going to have to make this a little bit, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Connections are all here if you're not familiar with Packet Tracer. On the plus side, you can mouse over. And if you mouse over, it'll tell you basically what all these little subcategories are. Connections are all here where it says connections. Once you click on that, you'll have all these different ones here: USB, custom IO, serial, DTE, and DCE. This one has to have a clock speed set, and it's nice enough to give you a little clock icon. But you'll cover those things later. Right now, what we're concerned about is the console cable, and that is this little blue one here, which is pretty much representative of what a real console cable does actually look like. And again, you know, you guys want to pop into chat and say hi or whatnot. I actually could throw a camera on, and I do have console cables here at my house because at one point, hubby had actually set up a Cisco lab for us, which was hilarious. I have so many stories. Comcast did not love us, but anyway. We do have console cables and a bunch of fancy stuff here. Hubby's even cooler because he used to work at data centers, so he even has his own set of fiber tools. But moving on, what we're going to do is it says click the connections icon next to the one that looks like a lightning bolt in the lower corner, which I just showed you. Select the light blue console cable by clicking it, which I did. You see it's X'd out because that's what's highlighted. Mouse pointer changed to what appears to be a connector. Yep, there you go. It's happy. Looks like a mouse. There's a tail. Alrighty. Click on PC1 in a window displaying RS232 connection. Drag the other. So it wants us to click here. It says drag the other one other end of the console cable to the S1 switch and click the switch to bring up the connection list, and you're going to select console because this is common sense. And the console happens to be the first one up top. We're going to click that, and now they've connected. They're not blinking or anything because we haven't initiated any sort of a go yet, but they're perfectly connected the way they're supposed to be. And the way you do this is going to be basically a teleterminal. So, on a real machine, you can use PuTTY. It works just fine. That's how we do it in class. Is we just pop up PuTTY. If you don't have PuTTY, grab it. It's free. There's a whole list of fun things that can be played with also. I actually might be hiding behind here anyway. There we go. So I'm going over my admin window. All right, here's all my fun toys. So these are some of the fun things that I like to play with. So I got my vSphere client, I got WinSCP, I got Wireshark, Fences, get the old one, you can find it. This is PuTTY. So on a real thing, you'll be using PuTTY. Either PuTTY or Teleterm or something similar, but PuTTY works really well. And then I have my spyware for my child's computer, Notepad++. These are all important things. Oracle VM VirtualBox. If you want to screw around with virtual machines, really do recommend this one. I personally like it, and there's other ones, there's paid ones, but I've been very happy with Oracle. But yeah, so that is all the happy fun stuff. And anyway, moving back to lab. So moving on. Once these two are connected, where are we at? We got to click the PC. So we're going to click on PC. It's going to bring up the Shiny Happy PC interactive window. Again with the Bixby's. Alright, whatever. I'm going to ignore her. Apparently PC sounds too much like Bixby. Silly phone. Alright. And it wants you to go to the desktop. It wants you to click on the terminal application. And this, I believe, should be pretty much pre-configured, so all you need to do is hit OK, and that'll pop up a command window. So, verify that the port configuration is default settings are correct. Default. This should be fine. And it has a question here. What is the setting for bits per second? 9600 bauds. Much more fun. I remember back in the day when I bought a 9600 baud modem and it was an upgrade. Alright, so you hit OK, and this brings you into the command line interface on the switch. And this has already been labeled S1, so you don't need to do a host name for this particular one, but we'll worry about setting that up in the next lab. Alright, so this is the terminal for the switch. I'll go ahead and put that up here. We can kind of get a look at it. Now, this is a tiny one, so we're just going to go like that because there's not a lot to look at. Alright, so we're in here. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up and put it in the corner because I think I'm going to have to use it shortly. Alright, it wants you to click OK, which I believe I did already. So yeah, you pretty much, there you go, click OK, you go then, you're in. Alright, you get that get started message, which is basically, you know, the switch is booted up, and it wants you to return to get started, and that's what brings you into your base terminal. Oh, what is the prompt displayed on the screen? Press enter is what the prompt is. I'm just reading the lab. Press return. Enter, return. Same thing. I'm old. Anyway, step 3, explore the iOS help. This is super fun. So I'm going to read this to you. The iOS... The iOS can provide help for commands depending on the level being accessed. The prompt currently being displayed is called the user executive mode, and the device is waiting for a command. The most basic form of help is to type the question mark at the prompt to display a list of commands. And we are going to observe that right now. So it is simply question mark. Why? Help. All those fancy things. So we're going to go ahead and hit question mark. And in your user exec, this is what you have displayed to you. And I'm going to go ahead and put this over here where it's a little more legible. Oops, or not. Mary to dumb. Copy, because this is an older lab, so it doesn't have all the fancy fancies. Paste. There we go. So these are the executive commands available to you at this point in time on your user console. So you can do connect, which will open the terminal connection. You can do disable. It'll give you a list of turn off the privilege commands. Disconnect, enable, log out, resume, telnet, terminal, tracer. So it's very basic stuff. I think you got of these ping, traceroute, the show commands. I don't think you can get all of them, but you can get at least a bunch of them. And I guess you can't really reboot from this one anyway. Yep, but these are your ones you're going to use a lot from here that you can still do some basic debugging without being in privileged exec mode. Okay. Oh. I didn't actually sleep last night. That'd be like awesome if I did. All right, so We're going to do question mark. Okay. Which commands begins with letter C? That would be connect. Okay. At the prompt, type T followed by question mark. And what this is going to do is limit to just the search results, which in this case is telnet, terminal, and traceroute that begin with the letter T. And then it's going to ask TE followed by question mark, which should be terminal and telnet. So what this is basically showing you is similar to any standard Linux command. You can go ahead and do your terminal searches in this way, just so you know. It's a good thing to know. I use shortcuts more than anything else. I use lots and lots of shortcuts, and for me, they really do come in handy. All right. This says, and this might be on your test, this type of help is known as context sensitive help. Basically, that means that you're limiting it to what you want to kind of search for. So that's context sensitive. All right, part 2, exploring the executive modes. Exec modes. We're here. All right, and you're going to switch to privileged exec. And you want to know how that happens? You hit EN and the tab key. And that brings up enable. As you may have watched me do this yesterday. Alright, what it is it's EN, and then you can hit tab, and that brings up enable. You can either type that out of the way or this. Honestly, you only need to type EN. That's all that you need to type. If I went in here and I didn't hit enable, which I didn't, and I just typed EN and hit enter, it puts me into that next mode. So there you can see there's, I don't know how well you can see it, but there is a difference here. Oh, do I have my magnifier? Nah, well, no, as I tried it, it wouldn't work anyway. So, this goes into your privileged executive mode. And from your privileged executive mode, that's when you do the majority of your configurations. So you'll be using that and the configure terminal modes more than probably anything else. And that's just how you get there. EN, enter. Okay, when prompted, type the question mark. Here it wants you to type a question mark. This is going to be a bunch of alphabet soup. So these are all of your privileged executive commands. Copy, paste. And we're going to look at those real quick. All right. So these are all your privileged executive commands. And so make sure this is, now it is a little blurry, but oh. Yeah, we just make that a little bit bigger. All right, so you have your clear functions, clock functions to set the system clock, configure, debug, delete, disable, disconnect. Again, your important ones like ping and traceroute, which you'll use for a bunch of different stuff. This one also has the reload command for reloading in this case it's a switch, so we're reloading your switches. All right. Oh, and erase. Erase definitely comes in handy. This is, well, we're not going to get too far into this in this lab, but erase is used for writing or erasing or changing when you need to mess around with your configure settings. So you can, well, you can do a lot. You can erase different system files, which needs to be done when you want to clear out and redo a configuration. Okay. And then it wants us to do, so we've done this, it wants question marks, it wanted to know, and we could do the same thing on this as we did with the other one. If we type question mark or C question mark or whatever, it'll only select those things that are looking. So if you're looking specifically for ping, it would be like P to search the help there. Okay, now it wants to do global configuration mode. And one of the commands starting with the letter C is configure. When in privileged exec mode, type either the full command or enough of the command to make it unique along with tab. So I'm going to go con F, and that's configure. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to configure from terminal, memory, or network? Terminal is the default. You could just hit enter and it'll immediately go, or you can go ahead and you can type in term and it'll pop into it. So, and now you're popped into configure for configure terminal. Another way to do this is the way that I usually do it, which is simply conf T, because you can string those together, hit enter, and bam, you're in configure terminal. So, just for reference, and this is the way I do it, if you guys haven't ever played with this before, to get into configure terminal, it's either conf tab to finish it, and then terminal and tab, and that's more keystrokes than you really need, or just do it the way I do it. It's conf T. And then once you get conf T, you hit enter, boom, you're good to go. I hear banging. I don't want to go check on it. Okay, so now we're in configure terminal in our command line. Oh, brackets terminal change prompts. This is called global configuration mode. This mode will be explored further in upcoming activities and labs. And oh yes, it is. And you'll be very familiar with it very shortly. For now, exit back to privileged exec by typing end, exit, or control Z. And it's just fine. And then you're back to the thing. And it has a little pound sign. That's how you know you're in privileged executive mode. Bop. Okay. Then the last part of this particular lab is part 3, setting the clock. So step 1, use the clock command. Use the clock command to further explore help and command syntax. Type show clock at the privileged executive prompt. So we're going to type show clock, and it's giving us this. Well, from 1993. Tonight I'm gonna party like it's 1990. Wow, that's old. Okay. So this is what we did. We did show clock, and this is the clock that it printed out. Oh dear. I like ancient. I was like in 8th grade. Oh, I know. You don't see my oats. Alright. What information is displayed? Well, it is the time and yeah. Well, that's adorable. It's just about it's probably the real time. Almost. My computer clock says 12:28. This says it's noon 30 and 48 seconds, I believe. And the universal time would be, according to this, Monday, March 1st, 1993. Although that is not the correct one. Today it's still February. So what this little bit here is going to walk us through doing. Oh, let's see, show clock. So we're going to go ahead, and it wants us to type in just clock by itself and hit enter. And it says incomplete command, which is what it wants you to see. Cisco Light's doing this to you. Alright, so incomplete command. Oh no, what we're going to do next? Well, what we want to do is clock set. So clock set is the command that we're going to use to set the clock on the switch. So, I'm not going to ever get this. So anyway, it's clock set is what we're going to be using. And let's know what information is being requested. Well, it would help. What are you upset about? Okay, cool. I'm going to go clock set question mark. There we go, clock set question mark. That's going to go, what does it want? It wants the hours, the minutes, the seconds, the current time. Okay, so the lab says show 1500, but it's, I'm okay, whatever. We're just going to go 1500 even though it's not 3 o'clock. 1500.0, so that's hours, 3 o'clock, 15 minutes are 0, seconds are 0. So clock set 1500 seconds. Poop. Oh, and it says it's still an incomplete command. And you know what you do when it says that? You hit a question mark on the end. Okay, what do you want? It wants month, day of the month, month, day of the month of the year. So, what the lab is asking us to type in is to attempt to set the date to 1/31/2035. It may be necessary to request additional help using the context-sensitive help to complete the process. All right, so it wants month 1. So day of the month is 1/31, and the month is the month of the year. January 31st. I think it's supposed to be 30. Oh, that's beautifully confusing. I think it's supposed to be 31. Oh, the syntax is all wonky. I want to say 31. I think you put 31 Jan. And then year. Okay, good. So you do 31 Jan and then the year, and it wants it to be 2035. Then we should be able to hit enter, and then we should be able to go back to show clock. And then once you go back to show clock, there you go. So we have Wednesday, January 31st, 2015. Oh God, Cisco. Yes, of course Cisco, because yay, happy fun time. It's all good though. I'm trying to help out. We have a network. We actually have a bunch of Twitch networking people, and a couple of them had said that they were really new to it and they hadn't really gotten into it. So I'm going to throw up a couple of the beginning tutorials and a couple of the more advanced tutorials. So depending on where people were that were in the group, we get to actually look at some actual labs. And these are little quickie ones, so it shouldn't take me more than maybe the rest of the hour tops to do these two because they're basic intro stuff. I'm just doing walkthroughs. Well, you don't have to like it. This is just for those people that are interested. So, you could stick around and totally, you can heckle if you want, but I actually do enjoy doing large area networking because I had a lot of fun doing it, but I had good memories, sort of, even if we were tormented. But yeah, so I'm going back for that now. All right, anyway, so clock set. If you were not successful, try this. Well, I got it and we were good, and our show clock came out correctly. So there we go, and that's what it looked like. And what we did, which even though those commands were stupid and confusing, paste. All right, so this is what it wanted. It wanted to do clock set and wanted to ask question mark, and then it gave the parameters. This is what this was the frame it wanted it in. And then the lab wanted you to show that it was incomplete, so you had to put a question mark, and it gave you this stipulation to put it together. And I'm like, what? And what we ended up figuring out is it wanted 1500, that it told us to do it. 31st is the day, January is the month, and then you hit question mark again and it tells you how to put the year in. So to set the clock, it's this command here. So it's clock set 3 p.m. the 31st January 2035, and then when you show clock, that's what it spits out. So there we go, and that's what it wanted for this bit of the lab. Poor Reaper, I'm sorry. I'll get to doing more fun things later, I promise. Alrighty, so we're good on that. That is done, and now we're just about the end of this lab. So it wants you to explore additional command messages. Like I said, if any of you need a copy of Packet Tracer or want a copy of these labs, just ask. I will be more than happy to provide you with some materials. Although if you don't have a Netacad login, Packet Tracer is limited. So you still should be able to play with at least some of these, but you won't have as much functionality as if you had an account. Aww. It's really not that bad if you have someone that can take their time and explain it to you. And or if you've had a little base experience before then. I got lucky that before I started taking these classes, I was literally trial by fire when I worked out in Hollywood. I had a boss where with his method of teaching was throw you a white paper and lock you in the server room and say build this, and that's kind of how I ended up learning a lot of stuff. And also, he did explain how our network, Bixby, stop. He did explain how our network was, how he'd built everything. So I do admit I had a problem with that when I was actually this class that I'm currently doing the lab from. Um, I had unfortunately taken it as an online class because I didn't realize that there was um, an in-school class available. So when I had signed up for it, I figured it'd be easier doing it online because my schedule is kind of chaotic. And what ended up happening was I realized that the guy that was teaching it was so um, flaky that I never got any feedback. I didn't know what we were doing. I was basically self-teaching myself in the Netacad, and being that a lot of this was very new to me, it was a little more difficult. So I ended up going to my local branch of that community college and befriended the faculty there, and I found out from I think Chris was just a chair, was just like a departmentish chair at the time, and now he's like head of the entire department. Um, but he had basically said, "Okay, look, you're in this class already, even though it was online through a different branch of the school." He said, "Just come sit in on our class," because that gave us hands on. So I got really lucky, and they've been at least I know Ivy Tech's in Indiana. I don't know if they're outside of Indiana, but they've been really good with Cisco, and I think if I remember correctly, they do have like a partnership with them. So it's been a good experience for me this go around. Um, and they have a lot of a teaching push, and wanting to bring new people in, and that's kind of something that I always feel too, is if someone wants to learn, ask, and I'll do my best to help you out, or at least point you in the right direction for someone who can. So that's kind of why I'm running through these. Yeah, I've totally experienced those professors, unfortunately. Oh, my mom actually did punch cards when I was in utero. Anyway, I'm gonna just wrap this up real quick. So this is just going over basic iOS command stuff, like how to search for things. But that's pretty much this entire lab. And I'm gonna go ahead and okay, Baby Bunny's still doing good. And we're just gonna hit check results real quick and see if we missed anything. Nope, everything's there. So all the green check marks, so we are good. And I'm going to go ahead and, no, we're going to save that. And we're going to move on to the next lab. So the next lab that I'm doing today is configuring initial switch settings. And this hopefully should go really quick, because this is the kind of stuff, like I had said yesterday, you should just be able to copy this stuff down into a doc file. I go ahead and save as. CLI. Save. Alright. Save as switch. Alright. I'm gonna hide that down here for just a minute. Oh, I honestly do feel for you, Reaper. I really do. All right, so moving on to this lab. This is configuring initial switch settings. Objectives of this lab are verify default switch configuration, configure a basic switch configuration. That's a lot of configuring. Configure an MOD message of the day banner, which I always do. All your base belong to us because I'm weird like that. Save configuration files to the NVRAM and configure switch 2. So, part 1, verify default switch configuration. There's 2 ways to do this. We're going to do it the way the lab wants us to do it. But in Packet Tracer, you can just click directly on the switch. It's a lot faster. But for not cheating and for pretending this is real hardware, we're going to go through the PC. You can access from privilege modes. However, many of the privilege commands configure operating parameters. Privilege access should be password protected to prevent unauthorized use. The privilege exec command set includes these commands that contained in user executive mode, as well as the configure command through which access to the remaining command modes are gained. Click S1. Oh, it's going to actually let you do it this way. Yay, because it's faster. No, do not delete the item. That'd be bad. All right, so stop it. Be good. It wants you to click the CLI tab, which, like I said, this is so much faster. All right. Versus cabling stuff up, which you could do, but I don't want to because this is quicker. All right, enter privileged exec mode, which is really easy. EN, enter. We're in privileged exec mode now. Oh, okay, okay. Well, if you're Vincennes, then you're local to me anyway. Okay. Yeah, this totally doable stuff though. But if you, I don't know if you want to look at this, or if are you doing IT for your college stuff, or like what's your focus? I like doing the helpings. All right, over here. So for switch configuration, EN is your first one, and that gets you into your executive terminal. So that goes into your enable, gets you into your next thing. It wants you to examine the current switch configuration. So it's asking you to type in show running config. And then it wants you to answer the following questions, which we'll breeze through those real quick. So next one is going to be show run. If you noticed, I skipped a lot of that. If you just type in show run, it'll do the whole thing. So the current, I'm just going to go ahead and we're just going to do all the ports. And there we go. Okay. Do 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 do. Right there. Host name. Okay. Oh, we're still using version 12. I have 15 downstairs. Okay. So, answer the following questions. How many fast Ethernet interfaces does the switch have? It has 24. I'm just going to tell you that right off the bat, and the way that you find that out is you just simply scroll down until you find the last one. So the last interface is interface fast Ethernet 0-24. And so that would be 24 fast Ethernets. How many gigabits does it have? It has 2. 1, 2. Okay. What is the range of values shown for the VTY lines? The answer should be 15 if I remember correctly. VTY, yep, there we go. So line VTY 0 to 4, line VTY 5 through 15. So there is 15 total. Which command will display the current contents of non-volatile RAM access memory? That requires thinking. Do 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 do. It should be show. This was show running. God, you gotta love it when you get thrown a curveball. Expanding tree modes and passive. Why would you even throw that in there? I don't think there's show NVRAM. Show question mark, because that's what it wants you to do. It wants you to think. There's IP logging monitor, privilege access, running config, which we just did. Sessions. We're gonna do what I usually do. Go to the Googles. So if I don't remember it, it makes it easier. Multi-layer, VLAN, hardware. There, we can just do it this way though. Okay. Find. Cannot find. Cannot find. You know what? We're going to see if we can get a show flash, because I think that's the closest thing to what it's asking. What was your question, little thing? Non-volatile random access memory. That should be the flash. So anyway. So the answer is going to be show flash. Why does the switch respond with startup config is not present? If you delete the startup config, it won't be present, or at least it won't be loaded into. Where does it say that? Okay, again, with lab being dumb. So, okay, we're gonna just go move on because that's not as important as getting the thing configured. Okay. Next, we're gonna assign a name to the switch because currently the switch is called switch. And that's boring. Switches don't need to be called switch, they need to be called things. So, again, so you guys can see. For anyone that wants to come back and be watching the podcast, this is your commands that you're using for this. You go to configure terminal, conf t, and then it's going to be line console 0. It wants you to do, well, hold on a second. We want to name this first. So first we got to go host name. Excuse me on that one. All right, yeah. So first thing you're doing is configure terminal, then host name S1, and then exit. If you exit, it'll pop you back out to your privileged exec mode. If you're going to immediately be going back into configure terminal again, there's really no point putting in exit. You're best just configure terminal host name, and then going down and start putting in all your other commands. Now, the way that I do this is like I saw earlier, we're already in EN, so we're not going to have to worry about it, but I'm going to stick this here anyway, just because I like to be able to see it. So the way that I do this is EN, I do conf t, you're then going to go host name, and it's going to be S1. You're then going to go straight to putting in the rest of your stuff, so it's going to be line con 0, password, in this case it's going to be let me in, login, and then you will pop out to exit. And this actually, if this wants to behave, I know that it'll do this no problem on the router, but it should. There we go. So what this just did is you take those commands in that order, basically from what the lab says, and you pop them into this, and it'll just go boom, and it'll just run them straight down. So what this just did is it entered us into configure terminal mode. When you dropped it in, it immediately changed the host name, and you'll see that as soon as that command hit, it went from switch to S1. So it renamed itself right there, almost in real time. Oh, in real time. And then the next command was line con 0. So what this does, the line console 0 tells the first line in the console setting. It's like when you are going to be like getting in to your switch for the first time, to go ahead and set a password. The password is let me in. And then you put login, and login tells the switch that you want to make sure that that login has to be used. If you don't put login, you'll just be able to enter through and it'll just ignore it, so there's like no real password set up. So that's required. And then exit will drop you back from the configure line back to configure terminal. And that's how that works. And like I said, you can just build these basic command setups and just keep a file somewhere that says, okay, well, the only thing I really need to go in and change is, say, S1 to a different name. And you can just go ahead and push these as scripts. And I do this a lot, honestly. I type them out first here and make sure I got everything that I need. And then I go from there. So we've actually finished 2 sections of that lab like super quick. It wants to know why login is required. I just explained that. If you don't put login, it won't log in. All right, exit privileged mode to verify the console port is fixed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and exit all the way out. Oh no, we have not put in the don't resolve the hosty thingies, the domain whatevers. Now we have to wait. Wait. Grr. On the plus side, now that I have to wait anyway because I'm dumb, if you have all these set up the way that you want them, when we go over to switch 2, all you're really going to have to do is change this from a 1 to a 2. And then you just go and plop them all in there, and then switch 2 is configured really fast. And then we're done with the lab even quicker. Ah! Dumb. Close that out. Oh, come on. No, don't be locked. There we go. Okay. Alrighty, so now we're going to go ahead, exit again, and then hit return to get started. And look, it wants a password. And the password was let me in. Yay. And now we've entered. So what this has done is this is your first level of security. Hooray. Alright, cool. So we've got this one out of the way. And we want to verify that is secured. We just did that. It is secured. We need to put a password in. Next is secure privileged mode. And this is going to be a fancy Cisco. I don't want to use this. I'm just going to use the regular Cisco that we use in every other lab, because I'm going to be naughty. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does, but in this case, it really doesn't. So, the next grouping that we're going to go ahead and do, push you guys up top. All right, is it wants to go ahead and set the enable password to Cisco, and the way it tells you it wants to do that is it wants you to hit N, and then again, configure terminal. For me, it's conft T. Alright, then it's going to be, in this version of this is enable password, and I'm just going to use Cisco, and then exit. So we're going to go ahead and just copy this down, paste, and it should have been good. Yep, there you go. And it did what it needed to do. And ouch, and it got us our where we needed to go. And so next, alright, verify that it is secure. So that means it wants us to exit all the way out again. And it wants let me in for the first one, and then when we try to put EN for enable, it's going to ask for a password again, and in this case I just use Cisco, and now we're into privileged executive mode. So that worked, all good. Alright, and we verified it, so that's good. The first password is the console password you configured for LineCon 0, correct. enter this password to return, and whatever. And now we're going to go to show running config. Now these are going to be plain text for the time being. Keep that in mind, and that's what it wants to show us, is that it's going to be plain text. So we're going to look it up, and we're going to scroll through running config, and there it is here. So it says linecon 0, the password is let me in. See, it's a clear text password. Clear text passwords are no fun. That is a bad thing. It's bad for the security. You don't want to do that. But luckily, there's a way to secure that, because otherwise I would cry. And so in order to encrypt it, you do enable password to be replaced by newer encrypted for enable secret command, and set the enable secret password to it's a secret. And the way that we'll do that is, I'm just going to copy and paste here. So conf t, it's a secret, and then exit. So let's see, where are we at in this? All right, come here. So again, we're just going to drop that in there. All right, and it is updated that to it's a secret. Okay. The enable secret password overrides the enable password. If both are configured on a switch, you must enter enable secret password to enter privileged exec mode. So this will override. So if we exit this out again and want to get in, it's going to be let me in for the first one, and then it's a secret. So if we go to into N, there you go. So it's a secret, and then you're in. Okay. All right, next little bit down here, we're almost done, it shouldn't be too much longer, is verified that the enable secret was added to the configuration file. So obviously it wants us to do show run. It should be down here. There it is. And so enable secret, password Cisco, and you should see now this is hashed. So this now has it has some password encryption on it, which is like yay, happy fun times. That makes it a little bit harder for it's no longer plain text, because plain text is bad. All right, the next thing that we're going to cover is message of the day. All right, banner mods. Keith, you're cool. Shush. Keith's the duck. He's going to be a loud duck, apparently. Alright, so next one is conf t banner message of the day, MOTD. And I always do all your base are belong to us, because I'm a dork like that. But that's why everyone loves me. Alright, and then you're going to go ahead and hit exit. And I'm just going to, again, drop that in there. And so now if you exit all the way out, you'll see all your base are belong to us now shows up on your terminal right before your thing. Usually what you would put in here is something along the lines of secure system, authorized access only. Oops. LET. There you go. Let me in, and then it's a secret. All right, there we go. All right, and so that's really all it wanted us to do, it looks like. So save the configuration files to NVRAM. You have completed basic configuration of the switch. Now back up the running config to NVRAM to ensure that the changes are made. Basically, here's your command for this. Copy run config to start config. You know what also happens to work? Copy run start. Because brevity is golden. copy run start. Destination startup config? Yes. Building configuration. It's probably going to ting me on this one because I didn't put the exact I didn't put the exact password and I didn't put the exact banner, but that's okay. As long as you get the idea how this works. Oh goodness, Cole. Alright, and we're done with that one. So it wants you to configure S2. Now, like I said, it wants you to name the device S2. I'm going to cheat on these, but that's okay. And so, like I said earlier, because we want to just kind of, it's 1 o'clock now-ish, and I want to kind of just get through this real quick. So you know what we're going to do? This is what we're going to do. Do. It wants us to be S2, so we're going to change that to S2. Let me in, log in, exit. That'll bring us down to there. Enable password Cisco. Banner mod. All your base will belong to us. Alright, so this should... Alright, that should have just done it. That should have run through almost all of them. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to check anyway. So we're going to go show run. Oops, I had to get it out one level first. Okay, so let's see if it did. Alright, so we have enable secret has been enabled. The enable password was Cisco, but it's going to be overridden by the other one. It looks good. All your base will belong to us is the message of the day mod. Let me in as the other passwords. That shows all that stuff has worked. And then the last thing that we need to do is just copy run start. Okay. And so that has done everything. As not now, this has ticked me off on a bunch of things that I didn't get, and I can guarantee you which ones they are, because I didn't use the exact passwords it wanted. Alright, so the host name it tinged me on because I didn't use capitals. The enable password it tinged me on because I didn't use the one it wanted. Service password encryption. These were done, but again, I didn't use this. I didn't use this to pass. It's basically just I didn't format it. So all these tasks were completed. I just didn't follow the lab to a T. So just so you're aware. Otherwise, that is everything was done correctly. Plus, you've learned a shortcut. Congratulations! You can copy things down into a notepad and save them for future use when you take notes. But yeah, that's basically what we got here. If you guys would like copies of any of this stuff, go ahead and email me here, and I will be happy to pass you copies of the labs and the PDFs. So if you want to practice at home, and you can get a packet tracer. You can try to get it directly from Netacad. Just hop in this real quick. So Netacad. This is the Netacad address. So you can also try here. And if you want to hit me up in my Discord, here is what the link is. I'll give you guys just a minute to copy stuff down. Oops. Gonna do this one. Alright, so that's a link to my Discord, an email y'all can reach me at if you do have other questions or you have other suggestions. Make these a little bit bigger. Not a big. There we go. So if you want to go ahead, more than welcome. Um, and I'm gonna give that just a minute to kind of sit there, and then I am going to go ahead and end stream. So go ahead and copy that stuff down. For the people that came to hang out, thanks for coming. And I will try to get a couple of these done every week. And again, if you do have input or there's something that you want to go over, please go ahead and hit me up because it helps motivate me to continue doing them. And I hope everyone has a great day and that this was somewhat helpful. And yeah, have a good day, and we'll catch you guys later.